Crypto products and NFTs are unregulated and can be highly risky. There may be no regulatory recourse for any loss from such transactions.
Hello and welcome to ETMarkets Crypto Q&A. I'm Aloni Bhatt. Today we have Parth Chaturvedi, lead crypto ecosystem at CoinSwitch Kuber, who will respond to all your questions. Now, Parth is a crypto native since 2018, and before his role at CoinSwitch, he was a management associate at FalconX, which is a digital asset trading platform headquartered in the US.
Hello everyone, this is Parth Chaturvedi. I am crypto ecosystem lead for CoinSwitch Kuber, and wanted to take today's AMA section around decentralized autonomous organizations, or popularly referred to as DAOs. So what is a DAO? It is more like a virtual organization where the decision-making process, and even for that matter treasury management, is managed over a blockchain. From a more technical standpoint, every DAO has like an open source code, making the entire management structure of the firm more transparent and open. Consider it as like a normal organization, but all participants are present on a blockchain, and hence all decision making is very transparent. So how does a DAO work? So the two important aspects of DAOs are mentioned in the full form only: decentralized and autonomous. So these two elements set up the flow of how like DAOs function. It is sort of an organization where all stakeholders are involved from like the lowest level to the highest level, and can all of them can offer inputs and participate in the decision making process. So this is the decentralization part of DAO, where all members of the DAO are allowed to vote, are allowed to raise issues around funding and any other relevant organizational processes that need to be decided upon. And since everybody has voting rights and like is free to suggest, this entire process becomes very transparent. In also, because these are built on blockchains, they really provide you a very transparent consensus mechanism to arrive at decisions. The second part that needs to be highlighted is the autonomous feature. So this is particularly very important because it is powered by those blockchain protocols. Essentially, blockchain protocols allow for the usage of smart contracts. Smart contracts are auto-executing digital contracts that manage transaction events on the blockchain, and all this activity is done via code and does not require any manual interventions. So starting from arranging on-chain meetings, to managing funds, to approving plans based on chain specific consensus mechanisms, DAOs can power these smart contracts to do heavy lifting of the decision making process. These two technologies basically coming together, decentralization because of the structure of the DAO, and autonomous because of the smart contracts, really gives you a very democratized way in which the organization functions. So why exactly is there a need for DAOs to come into the place in the first place? What are the problems that DAOs are solving? So consider DAOs as community-led organizations that are specifically aimed at solving one particular issue or problem. So what it does is it removes the ambiguity associated with the central authority. So the smart contract and the DAO act as the backbone which determines all rules, proposals, voting mechanisms, and even in fact, if you want to change the code that is on which the DAO is functioning, all of that can be done by the members of the DAO. So it would be better, to compare it to modern day centralized organizations. So consider like any normal organization where almost all governing, instructions are fed from top down. So like the CEO or the head of the company gives a decision, and then it flows down towards the lower level people basically. And what DAOs can do is it can also provide a voice to everybody in the organization to come together and take decision basis a consensus. So let's say there is a proposal in a centralized structure which is not in favor of people who are lower down in the hierarchy. They don't really have like a voice to object against it. But this is where DAOs can help as an organization, because they make it more decentralized as well as transparent, so everybody can raise what issues that they have, and rest of the organization also gets to see, okay, this is like a genuine issue that has been raised, and then they can come together to solve for it. So another point that basically the main highlight for DAOs is that they increase the level of transparency and efficiency for different organizations. Primarily, how we should consider this is that they solve for the principal agent problem, which is a very common problem in traditional organizations. It refers to a situation where the agents, interests are not aligned with the principal or the primary stakeholder. Imagine the agent as the CEO of a company, and the principal would be the shareholders or the stakeholders. In traditional organizations, agents might have to work according to their free will, which might be in contradiction to the overall goal of the firm. However, DAOs can eliminate this altogether by bringing together community governance, where the shareholders or the stakeholders aren't required to trust any agent, but they'll create like smart contracts which incentivize the agent to work for the broader organization. In simpler terms, it is like giving the power of the organization in the hands of the people running it, rather than the intermediaries that manage the organization. So in true parlance, if it was to be applied to a real world organization, basically all shareholders get to vote on everything that the company is trying to achieve. It might sound a little inefficient, and like how can it be possible for day-to-day functioning of an organization? But because everything is on the blockchain, everything is available transparently for all stakeholders to view, the process does become more efficient and transparent. So we'll take a step back and probably think about how to construct a DAO, or what are the characteristics of a DAO. So key things to think about is how they are separated from traditional organizations. So just highlighting some pointers that DAOs generally have. They are ideated by a core team, which creates a completely visible framework for any future participants to work on. It is verifiable across different points, as no single person is in charge. So whatever decision making happens is available for all to view. Then this publicly auditable function is very important, because it provides a huge amount of transparency to any DAO member. Even code changes and protocol changes that the DAO is functioning on can be voted upon by its members. Again, DAOs are completely trustless, and they act as the code which is underlying, on which the DAO is functioning. That is powered by smart contracts, which are again like auto-executing and do not require any manual intervention. So enough about like how DAOs are structured, and like what problems are they trying to solve. Do we really have a lot of different types of real world DAOs? Yes, we do. In fact, we can highlight like basis on the target use case, or the function that the DAO is trying to solve. They can be identified into different types. So I'll just mention some of them. One of them is the operating systems. These are like standalone platforms that allow organizations to create their own DAOs. So sort of like DAO as a service provider. Key projects in this space are Orca and Colony. Then the most important ones, and the ones that have really taken off, are protocol DAOs. So these are very common now. They actually work as an independent organization with tokens, which are used as a voting metric to implement protocol and financial changes. So consider these tokens as governance tokens that allow for token holders to take part in the policy making for that particular protocol. This is very prominent in DeFi protocols, And most of the DeFi protocols have a long-term vision to turn into DAOs. Some that have already reached there are Uniswap, MakerDAO, Yearn Finance, Synthetic, and Curve pools as well. So a lot of DeFi activities now actually being powered by DAO organizations. Then another theme for DAOs to be structured around common function is investments. These are called investment DAOs. They support capital pooling from various participants, and then make investments based on the group's common consensus. Some key projects in the space are BitDAO and newly constructed the LAO. Similar to investments, there are another set of DAOs called grant DAOs, where they act as like more decentralized venture capitalists, where the community comes around, uses governance tokens, and decides on how to make investments. These are generally related to certain projects. So there's a big project around decentralized an audio platform called Audius. So there is a DAO called Audius Grants, which basically provides grants to people building on the Audius platform. Then there is a new kind of DAO structure which has been aimed at NFTs, and is called collector DAOs. Basically, what happens is it is a group of NFT enthusiasts or artists that come together for fractional or complete ownership of art and content. One of the key projects here is Flamingo DAO. So basically what it does is like all participants come together, decide on buying a particular piece of an NFT or like a entire NFT, and then they pool in their money to purchase that. How that NFT is later on sold, put as collateral, or even fractionalized, again, that depends on the DAO to decide that. There are also service DAOs, which are used more for talent hunting and acquisitions by smaller agencies and individuals. Key projects here are Metaverse DAO, DAO House, and several others. Two more types of DAOs that again I want to highlight are social DAOs. These are more on the form of social networking, but on decentralized platforms. So there is no central party that is it makes it censorship free, and just like there are no biases on such platforms. Examples include Seed Club, FWB, Friends with Benefits, is the name of another social DAO. And finally, there are some DAOs which are now referred to as media DAOs, which try to bring together aggregation of news in a decentralized format. So again, like it makes it more transparent, it's not biased, and works towards what the consumers want to see. And key project here is the Mirror DAO. So as I mentioned that already, DAOs have become a thing in the real world and are already solving for a lot of real world problems. It's not that they come without any drawbacks. The current structure of DAOs is really full of a lot of inefficiencies as well. It sounds very liberating, the entire concept, and progressive, but there are several roadblocks in the real world implementation. They're still at the basic level, DAOs are still code, lines of code, and like all coding structures, they can be vulnerable to bugs, to any kind of hacks, and there have been ample examples where such hacks or insecurities have resulted in monetary losses. Most of these DAO-based products aren't really in sync with their centralized or offline financial counterparts as of yet. So this is also a process that is still in the process of aligning. It is still nascent stage, very early stage for DAOs, and it needs to pass more time from a critical perspective as well. So we can identify all the various vectors of attack, and basically make the entire infrastructure and organization more robust. So as I mentioned in the beginning, if each and every process needs to go through every member in the organization, it does bring about its own sort of speed issues, and slows down key decision making. So that is one of the major drawbacks in DAOs currently. And there have been cases where there are disputes between different members of the DAO community, and that results in hard forks. So like basically the DAO splitting up into two. Finally, I wanted to cover some real world examples of DAOs. They're already pretty significant, especially in the DeFi world where protocols are turning over and becoming DAOs full time. So the key statistic that I want to highlight is provided by DeepDAO. It's a database of sorts, which basically says that by the end of December 2021, over $11.5 billion in crypto and crypto assets was being managed by DAO entities. So basically, their treasuries were so strong, and over 2 million members were part of these DAOs. Total count of the number of DAOs was around close to 200. So the sheer numbers and the scale tells you that DAOs are already they've already created a splash. But if you consider like overall organizational structures, there's still like a huge way for these DAOs to grow. In the the examples or the size that I mentioned, there are both like giant DAOs like the protocol DAOs. Basically, like Uniswap is the leader there, which has I would say over 275,000 members on that one particular DAO. And but at the same time, there are very small single aim focused communities as well, which are like looking at smaller use cases or trying to solve for smaller problems. Some other examples that are worth mentioning are Shapeshift, which was an exchange, like one of the crypto OGs that set up this decentralized exchange. In July 2021, they announced that they will be completely shifting towards the decentralization of power and allocating among their stakeholders depending on Fox tokens. So basically, the Fox tokens will become the governance token for the Shapeshift DAO. Do DAOs have any kind of legal backing as such? Well, there has been a lot of political and regulatory efforts in this space, particularly in the US. And even in US, there was a state called Wyoming, where one of the senators there, Caitlin Long, has been a long proponent of blockchain technology. Wyoming became the first and only US state to give DAOs the same authority and set of rights as LLPs or limited liability companies. So this was a monumental step in terms of legalization of DAOs. Soon after, we saw like Blocks became like one of the first Wyoming-based DAO LLCs and like began functioning as a regulated entity. We have also seen a couple of recent examples where DAOs have tried to go big and achieve almost unthinkable of aims and goals. So one was Constitution DAO, which was set up to buy the first printed copy of the US Constitution. So basically, an auction was going on for the first copy of the US Constitution. A DAO came together to make a bid for it. Unfortunately, they didn't win, but they were able to raise millions of dollars for the same. Similarly, basis this experiment, there was another announcement for an NFL team in the US, the Denver Broncos, where a DAO actually came together to pour in billions of dollars in fund and was aiming to bid at around 4 billion for the sporting team. Particularly for sporting teams, like DAOs become very interesting concept because it becomes like more fan owned or community owned as a team. Again, they didn't end up winning the bid. It went to Walmart's Air for over $4 billion. And but like as a concept, these are the themes that are actually seeing like real world use cases come into place, where basically management for a team or for any kind of art or antique can be done by a group of members coming together and making a bid for it via the constitution of a DAO. That's about it from where DAOs stand currently. What we'll see in the future is going to be like a huge investment spree in DAO tools. So basically making DAOs more available to a broader audience. how can DAOs manage their day-to-day workings better. So DAO management tools or DAO infrastructure tools are going to see a lot of activity in the near future. And like again, as I mentioned, protocols will continue to shift into a decentralized governance model, and DeFi will be like the leading space where this continues to happen. As and when more DeFi protocols reach scale and decentralized, become more decentralized with their token holdings, they will make those governance tokens work for them as a decentralized organization. Those are the themes that we should watch out for. And thanks for attending today's AMA.
Well, that's it from us. Hope this was all informative. Now do write into us at ETMarkets Crypto Corner with all your thoughts and questions. From all of us, goodbye.
Crypto products and NFTs are unregulated and can be highly risky. There may be no regulatory recourse for any loss from such transactions.